The New Orleans Saints have restructured Derek Carr's contract, which isn't a surprise at this point because it's been hinted around for a couple of weeks now that this was going to be the case. So, not surprised, but am a little disappointed. I thought that the Saints really had an opportunity to just have a fresh start, move on from Carr, and get some young blood in there at that position, right? And don't get me wrong, just because they restructured him and that pretty much guarantees him to be the starter for this year, that doesn't mean that they're out of the quarterback market, especially in terms of the NFL draft. It would not shock me at all if the number 9 pick comes around and a Shadur Sanders is on the board and they decide to roll with him, right? But with that being said, I need help understanding this. I really do. We all know by now that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And that just kind of feels like what the Saints are doing right now. Again, like, you had a chance, a real chance. You're bringing in a new head coach who has no ties to the organization. You have a quarterback who has never really fit in with the city. Hasn't been the very best on the field. It just felt like time to move on. It felt like the perfect opportunity for Carr to move on and continue his career elsewhere, and for the Saints to start fresh and try and find their quarterback of the future. But instead, they want to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. And that's their choice, right? That's their decision, and that's what it's going to be. So they restructure his contract. He's going to be the starter this year. And the interesting thing about it is next year they're going to find themselves in the same position because he'll have a $69 million cap hit next year. Obviously, that is not realistic. At least I hope not, right? A $69 million cap hit in 2026 for Derek Carr is just absolutely outrageous. So hopefully between now and then they can get something figured out, right? And look, in terms of his actual contract, I don't it's not like he's overpaid, right? Like, I mean, in a some sense that in a sense he is, and then there's kind of a you can make a point that he isn't, because if you look at the quarterbacks, like the list here, I'll pull it up here. Like, these are the guys here, right? You see this? Okay. So Derek Carr right here averages 37.5 million dollars a year, right? And if you look at everybody in front of him is better. You got Rodgers, Stafford, Allen, Mahomes, Kirk Cousins. At this point in his career, you can argue, but certainly overall is probably a better quarterback, career wise. Deshaun Watson, this is the only one that you could look at and just like, what were the Browns thinking? I am so glad that he chose the Browns over the Saints. I mean, I don't even want to speak on that anymore. But Kyler Murray, Hurts, Lamar, Herbert, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott. By the way, that Tua contract is kind of ugly. I'm not gonna lie to you. $53 million a year, though. What, one, two, three, four, fifth highest paid quarterback? I don't know about that one, but in terms of where Derek Carr is, he's right here at, what's he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So he's like the 17th best or highest paid quarterback, which is really where you would put him if you were ranking all the quarterbacks in the NFL, which is fine, right? So I don't think that him being paid what he is the problem. I'm more so have a problem with, paying Derek Carr $37.5 million or $40 million now this year. It's just going to get you the same result as if you were paying a Jameis Winston $5 or $10 million a year. If you were, starting Spencer Rattler and paying him whatever his rookie salary is, right? Because at the end of the day, at the end of the season, you're going to be in the same position. You're gonna be at home watching other teams in the playoffs. So I'm just a little confused here on what the Saints' goal is. Like, is their goal to um find their quarterback of the future and hopefully eventually win a championship, or is their goal just to win, 6, 7, 8 games? Because it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, so why pay a quarterback $40 million to have you sitting at home come January, rather than just, have another guy who's $25 million cheaper that's going to get you the same exact results season success wise, right? Not really game by game, because, like I said, Carr is going to win you just enough games to barely miss the playoffs and have a mediocre draft slot. But you could let a guy, like I'm just use Jameis Winston as a a reference here, right? I'm not like advocating for Jameis or anything, please. No. But just as an example, if you're paying him, $5, $10 million a year, what's he making with the Browns? $4 million. Like, if you're paying him 4, 5, 6, $7 million, you're saving $30 plus $1 million that you could be using elsewhere for the team. So I just don't understand like the line of thinking, because it just you end up in the same spot. You end up in the same spot at home watching other teams perform in the playoffs. Sure, you might win, 4 or 5 more games, 4, 5, 6 more games. But at the end of the day, does that even matter? Like it doesn't. Nobody's gonna remember that. Oh, the Saints went 3-14. They're not gonna remember that versus the Saints went, 6 and whatever. Like it's just to me, it's stupid. And another thing that I don't feel like gets talked about enough is at this point in his career, Derek Carr is getting up there in age and he's starting to have a lot of durability concerns. In 2023, his first season with the Saints, he dealt with some injuries, multiple injuries that, at least in his words, affected his play a bunch, right? That was his excuse sort of for his lackluster play in 2023. And then you jump to the next year, 2024, and he missed several games, and we ended up with, Spencer Rattler starting a bunch of games and Jay Kaner starting a game and Carr getting hurt again towards the end of the year. So that's another like angle here that I feel like just kind of nobody's paying attention to is the durability issues, right? And it wouldn't be surprised me again if that same kind of thing plays out next year where Carr gets himself hurt or gets sacked, gets hurt, whatever, and we end up seeing Rattler again, or if they decide to draft a quarterback or whatever, right? So at the end of the day, I don't get it, man. I don't get what the Saints' goal is here. Again, I was hoping when you bring in a new head coach, you let him kind of just have a complete fresh start. But it sounds like Mickey, as we all expected, very stubborn GM, wants to keep on trying to be delusional and thinking they can win a championship every single year. Which I get it, right? Like you want to win games, but sometimes you have to just do it the right way, build your organization up from the ground up, and that way at the end you can have sustainable success, right? Because not only are you going to uh you know you're going to have success and all the free agents, it's going to be an attractive destination. Right now it's like, we've seen with the head coaching search, 4 or 5 guys of the top guys didn't even want to interview with the Saints, and the Saints were the last one to hire a guy. And Mickey will say, "Oh, they were waiting on Kellen the whole time," but it's just absolutely not true. Um, but yeah, it is what it is, man. I'm hoping for the best. Obviously, I'll never root for the Saints to lose because it's my team, but it's really frustrating to continue to watch them do the same thing every offseason post Sean Payton. Like it's pretty clear at this point, like we're what, 2, 3, 4, 4 years removed now from the Sean Payton years. It's pretty clear who actually held that ship glued together. And I promise you that his name is not Mickey Loomis. So appreciate you guys watching. Peace.